Again, I'd like to recognize Chairman Smith for his work on this and the fact that he approached me back in April to say, hey, there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about. And it turned into House Bill 799. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for all you do. At this point, I'd like to call on Lieutenant Governor Reeves to speak briefly, and then we'll turn it over to Governor Bryant.
Thank y'all. I just want to very briefly say a couple things. One, I want to mention the importance of this bill. One of the primary things that we've tried to do working with Governor Bryant and our friends in the House over the last 3 years is make Mississippi a more business-friendly state, because we believe that the way in which to accomplish job creation is by ensuring that we encourage the private sector to invest capital in our state. This is a piece of legislation that does just that. It encourages those friends of ours throughout the country to invest capital in Mississippi because we have a fair tax code. The second thing I want to say, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I want to give credit where credit is due on this piece of legislation. You know, a lot of people that are here probably don't recognize the hours and hours and hours and hours of work that went into the final product of this legislation. And I've got to give credit to one person who's not here, and that's Chairman Joey Fillingame, the Chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, and to the Chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Representative Smith. Those two gentlemen worked tirelessly on this legislation over the last 3 months, and without them, today would not be possible. So thank you all very much.
Yes, sir. All right, I'm going to... We're ready for relief.
I know everyone's got to get home, but there's nothing more important than a Taxpayers Fairness Act. Now, what MEC has tried to do, when we were at a tipping point in this state, when corporations across America was saying that is the most business-friendly environment in the country, but their taxing system doesn't seem to be fair. If we found, if the Tax Commission, for example, the Department of Revenue says we think you owe us some money, we have to put up a bond before you can go in and prove that you're innocent. And so that wasn't a fair system. We want to make sure that they were on the record when they came in, and we said we want to bring you additional information to prove our side from a business standpoint, that we're credible in what we do. We wanted them to have that opportunity for appeal and not put them out of business before they got to that point. An issue of fairness is just that. It is the scales of justice, the preponderance of the evidence, if you will, that would tell us whether or not a business is doing what they should do. And we just think in the state of Mississippi, until this bill will be signed into law, those scales were tilted just a slight bit in direction of the government and the taxation of those businesses. And Mississippi will not be left behind when it comes to taxpayers' fairness. Not only for those out of state, this includes our small businessmen and women in the state of Mississippi that now have a fair and equal opportunity whenever the state of Mississippi decides when and how they should go about paying their taxes. Because you see, the taxpayers should make those decisions. We are the servants, and they are the sovereigns. So we're about to sign this bill into law so that fairness will exist for every man and woman that becomes an entrepreneur, whether it's the creative economy or in small businesses all around the state of Mississippi that provide jobs for our citizens. I want to thank Blake Wilson and MEC, all of the team that is here now. Sometimes the lieutenant governor can move a piece of legislation. Sometimes the speaker can. On rare occasions, the governor has some influence over the legislative process. But when the state chamber comes to that capitol, people listen. And they came time and time again to make sure that policy makers were paying attention, and indeed they were. And today we'll sign one of the most important pieces of legislation I know in my term as governor, and I think perhaps in the history of the state of Mississippi for business. All right, we've got 2 pens, 1 for each chairman. The bill is law. Now we're saying you show us, if you will, from the tax department, why you believe, what evidence you have to indicate that I'm not paying enough taxes. So the burden has shifted. They don't have to put up a bond. And if you think of a small business, if the tax department said you owe much more money than we thought, you've got to put a bond up, you would have to almost go out of business and then might prove that you're innocent. So it levels the playing field, as I said, the scales of justice for businesses in Mississippi.
Governor, what do you say about the Department of Revenue? They had estimated at one point that they could lose $100 million a year because of this. What is your response?
Well, you know, what I would say is if it's not fair to the taxpayers, then it's not worth $100 million a year. I think those numbers are quite large. I'd love to see next year what they truly are. I know how estimates can work. But fairness is more important, I would think, than projected revenue into the future. If it's not fair, then we don't need to be taking that $100 million out of the free market and putting it into the government sector.
So this impacts both businesses and individuals when we talk about...
Individual corporations, individuals that own small businesses, corporations out of state that are looking to have a nexus here in the state of Mississippi or do business here. It affects all of them. And we just believe in simple fairness. The Department of Revenue was being very aggressive in doing their job. There's nothing wrong with that. But at a point, I think we have to understand there's rights that the taxpayers have that must be protected.
Can you speak to how important MEC's lobbying of this was?
It was critical. And again, we had national publications that were writing stories about the unfair taxing system in the state of Mississippi. MEC, our state chamber, stepped in and said, if we're going to continue to grow to the next level in Mississippi, we're going to have to add that level of fairness because the entire world is watching, and we were on the watch list, if you will, for corporations. Now the news stories are we have turned this around and headed in the right direction.
I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to Blake Wilson and the entire MEC staff. During my term as chair, I witnessed firsthand what they do to make MEC such a successful organization. Blake is an amazing individual and has invested and sacrificed a tremendous amount of time and energy to build a team and implement programs that make MEC an effective organization, one that we all can be proud of. Thank you, Blake, and thank you, MEC staff. Again, thank you for your continued commitment to MEC and the honor and privilege to serve as your chair.
Thank you very much, Haley. Let's give him a round of applause. Even though he's not here, his staff can carry back the word. You know, Haley led a really tough battle this year with MEC in our legislature to win significant change in what had become an out-of-whack system dealing with taxation payments for corporate taxpayers and also individual taxpayers. Things had just gotten out of whack. Remember what we went through with tort reform about 10 years ago? We were on the same road relative to taxpayer fairness. We could not have been successful as a business community without the partnership of many other associations who helped make this happen. But at the point were the leaders of the legislature. I'd like to recognize the fact that we had tremendous help from the Speaker of the House. We had tremendous help from who could not be with us today. He's traveling, Speaker Gunn. We had tremendous help from the Senate Finance Chair, Joey Fillingane. Senator Fillingane, unfortunately, had a court appearance he had to be at. But another great leader who was able to be with us today, and I want you to give him a great round of applause because he proved you can fight big government and win. And that is the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, a champion for business, a champion for free enterprise. Please honor Jeff Smith, chair of the Ways and Means Committee, who's here today with his son Corky. From Columbus, Jeff, stand up and be recognized. Great job. We'd also like to recognize a man who set a strong course, who said that we are going to spend within our means, who joined with the other leaders, both the Speaker of the House and the Governor in saying we're going to have a balanced budget, we're going to spend within our means, we're going to be fiscally shrewd, but we're also going to start reinvesting some of the money in rebuilding some of the programs that had to be cut during the recession. Very focused on making our state in the place of greatest opportunity. Please recognize the great leadership on this tax issue as well as other finance issues, our Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves. Tate? Which is the natural segue, talking about this tax bill, to our next speaker. Alvino Castilla is the incoming chair of the Mississippi Economic Council. He's with Butler Snow, and he went down to the Capitol at a moment's notice over and over again during this past legislative session to help us negotiate and work for a common solution on that tax bill. He is the consummate community volunteer. It is impossible for me to list all of the things he has accomplished. But I do want to tell you one thing. He's a graduate of the University of Virginia Law School, where he was editor-in-chief of the Virginia Tax Review. He won the Daniel Kaplan Tax Award and the Edwin S. Cohen Tax Scholarship back in 1985. Prestigious honors at the University of Virginia. Remember, that's the College of Thomas Jefferson. He also was just a little bit of an achiever. He graduated from Mississippi College with an MBA with honors in 1982 and got his Millsaps, all right, and got his BA from Mississippi College. We have that exactly back. Did I have that backwards? Millsaps, okay, Millsaps. So both were Millsaps. Boy, am I going to be in trouble this year. So he graduated with an MBA from Millsaps and also his undergraduate from Millsaps. So ladies and gentlemen, I want you to welcome, please, our new incoming chair of the Mississippi Economic Council, Alvino Castilla.
Thank you, Blake. First, I want to follow up on a comment that Haley made in his remarks and just ask to give a special recognition to Blake for all the work that he does, and particularly this past year, he's had some challenges, family challenges with his wife's health, and throughout it all, MEC business did not suffer. So let's give Blake a round of applause. It's indeed a great honor to be afforded this opportunity to serve as chair of the Mississippi Economic Council, particularly at this time in our history. MEC has been at the forefront of so much positive change throughout our 65-year history. But what's even more exciting is what the future holds. The development of Blueprint Mississippi and the goals and recommendations that were released when this vital action plan was updated in 2012 are helping chart a course for our state that will create an array of new economic opportunities. I had the distinct pleasure of serving as chair of the technology commercialization focus area during the development of the most recent blueprint. And this experience allowed me to see firsthand the dedication and commitment of leaders from all geographic regions and from all business sectors of Mississippi. By working together on the various aspects of Blueprint, we believe that we now have in place a strategy to capitalize on the opportunities before us and to improve Mississippi's competitive position. Great strides have already been made toward accomplishing many of the Blueprint recommendations. As Haley mentioned in his remarks, MEC continues to be at the lead in making things happen. It is now imperative that we continue to look for ways to improve the lives of all of our citizens and to make Mississippi a great place to live and to work. There are abundant opportunities available in our future, and I know that by working together, by having a teamwork approach in the business community, we will make a tremendous difference. MEC's strengths its strength has always been and is its membership. We're talking about over 8,000 leaders in some 1,100 member companies. And this shows the reach that our organization has in all areas of the state. As we see today, MEC is a great convener, as evidenced by this tremendous audience. But it is also a catalyst for positive change. With this in mind, we look forward to and need your ongoing involvement. After all, it is a key ingredient for helping MEC make a meaningful difference. We look forward to an outstanding year. Thank you all for coming. And now, back to Blake. Thank you.
All right, we're coming into the home stretch. Our keynote speaker will be coming up shortly, and then Steve Azar following. We're running right on schedule, and a man who knows how to keep the schedule and who knows how to keep things running with a lot of enthusiasm is our governor, because he's enthusiastic about this state as all of us are. He's helping put this state in the place of greatest opportunity. He doesn't need much more of an introduction except to say this. He sets tough goals and sees that they are achieved, and they are being achieved, and this state is growing because of the leadership of this next speaker, our governor of the great state of Mississippi, the Honorable Phil Bryant.
Thank you, Blake. Great job. Thank you so much. Oh, I know you need to stretch for a moment. How about Blake Wilson? What a great job Blake does. I was talking to him off stage. Please be seated. About how far we have come. These wonderful luncheons, we'd have, it seems like 500 or 600 people, and we would be so proud of the group, and now there's 2,300 here today. And how about those star students and their teachers? 282 of them. Let's recognize them one more time. And as all of you know, when I became governor, we began to set goals. The first year of the legislative process, we said I truly believe was the most successful that I had remembered for economic development opportunities. We made Mississippi the most job-friendly state in America. Second year was transformational change for our educational system, and we continue to do that each and every day within the legislative session and at the executive branch. And this year we moved on to our criminal justice and correction system to help make sure that we were smart on crime. But at the same time, we were multitasking. So I dedicated the year of 2014 for the creative economy. Now you'll see more of it today. 2014 is the year that we will recognize our musicians, our movies. I actually call it a sort of our movies, music, money. Because you see, there's 60,000 Mississippis employed in the creative economy. Think about that, 60,000. Now, those jobs are here because of the creative ability of so many Mississippians, but that support system, Mississippi's creative economy is a sum of all wealth generated by the state's cultural and creative enterprises. Now, institutions, people, and places. It adds value to traditional economic sectors like manufacturing, agriculture, tourism. What would tourism be without our creative economy? Who would want to come to a state and begin their manufacturing process, their companies and corporations here in a place that had no creativity? We have it in abundance here in Mississippi, from cultural creativity, as I said, to our music. Imagine, if you will, the great history of Mississippi told by B.B. King. The stories of Elvis Presley's birthplace, where his wife Priscilla visited just a short time ago. The First Lady and I were just over at the Jimmy Rogers Festival, beginning that great event for the father of country music. This indeed is the birthplace of America's music. As you know, every genre that has begun started just here. Very soon we'll continue that throughout the 2014 with this great creative economy, a Mississippi homecoming. You see, we're having a homecoming and we're inviting the world. Now, there's many people that's been a part of this. As I sat down with Malcolm Wyatt and explored my vision of where we would go and where we would grow, you see, Mississippi's creative economy has outpaced the economy of the rest of the nation, growing at 4.6%. Those 60,000 jobs would be like us bringing 12 Nissan plants to the state of Mississippi. If that were to happen, well, all the world would be in awe of our creative ability to bring industry here. So now we're bringing that creative economy. And you'll see so many people that will be involved in this. Many of them will be on the stage today. Folks that I think of in the culinary arts, like my friend Robert St. John, Cassandra Wilson, Morgan Freedom. Y'all have heard of Morgan Freeman. You've seen him in a few movies. Bobby Rush, Marty Stewart, and Steve Azar, the creator and father, if you will, of the mighty Mississippi Music Festival. And if you haven't got those dates, it's October 3rd through the 5th in Greenville, Mississippi. Delta Soul. That's what Steve will tell you about. So as we're able to create this economy, it helps create jobs and revenue and investment. Now, we've had some minor success in other areas, like bringing Yokohama Tire Company here to West Point, Mississippi. Grammer Incorporated, a German auto supplier, located its U.S. headquarters. Grammer's United States headquarters will be in Shannon, Mississippi. Then there's Raytheon, a great expansion in Forest, Mississippi. German powertrain manufacturer Foyer in Tunica County manufacturing facility, a great manufacturing facility in the Mississippi Delta. As we said earlier, expansions at Nissan and Toyota Bushuku. Denmark-based stone wool insulation manufacturer Roxel in Byhalia, Mississippi. Power distribution equipment manufacturer Aluma Forma in Tipper County, Jackson Furniture in Itawamba County, and on it goes. Nearly 10,000 jobs, almost $1.3 billion worth of private investment in Mississippi. Mississippi's growth outpaces Southeast last year. In 2012, we reached $100 billion GDP, $100 billion GDP for the first time in Mississippi's history. Now, I think that's time to celebrate. As we look at these entrepreneurs, I think about folks who I get to see every day. Just last week, a fine gentleman came to my office. He's an artisan, John Wilcoxon. John Wilcoxon comes from DeSoto County, and he and his wonderful family came to the office, and he said, I began to take my art, some of the old antique wood that we thought was long gone, and rather than filling up landfills, he uses it for art. And you see a piece of aluminum shaped in the state of Mississippi, and our speaker, Peter Sims, will be up here in just a moment, and I brought this for Peter. Because when he goes back to San Francisco, I want him to remember forever that there's a wonderful shining star in the southeast called Mississippi. And its creative economy will outshine those that have in the past thought so little of our opportunities. Now, they look to this bright state into the future for its music, its arts, its entertainment, and its success. Thank you so much for being here today. God bless every one of you and the state of Mississippi. Thank you, sir.
The legislature did a very good job this year of maintaining fiscal responsibility. They spent within their means, both on bonding and also on general fund expenditures, which means to the taxpayer that our bonding capability will improve. It also means that there were no new taxes, which is very important. And so that sends a very good signal for economic development. And so the future is going to be, how do we continue to chip away and make our state more competitive so that we bring in more good jobs and continue to grow?
You've got a program called Blueprint to Mississippi. Tell us a little bit about that and what the outlook is in the future for that program.
We're in the process of implementing Blueprint Mississippi, and one of the things we're doing now is a major competitive analysis of how we compare with the other Blueprint states, those we compete with the most. And what then we'll do is say, well, okay, we've got to fix this, we've got to improve that, and we'll come back to the legislature and say, look, here's some legislative fixes we need to make to really make our state get into the place of greatest opportunity.
Well, we've said from the beginning that our #1 priority is to create jobs in our state, bringing better and higher paying jobs to Mississippi. But we have a political philosophy that says government does not create jobs. Government's role is to create an environment which encourages the private sector to invest capital and create jobs. And our greatest accomplishments this year, just as they've been the last couple of years, is helping build that environment that encourages the private sector to invest money here, creating jobs here. Things such as raising starting teacher pay so that we encourage and incentivize more of our best and brightest to go into the teaching profession. Things such as ensuring that our tax code is fair to those businesses that are located here. Things such as ensuring that we have a balanced budget that fills up our rainy day fund. And you know, things that aren't going on in Washington are the things that we're doing right here in Mississippi to make Mississippi a better place to invest capital and create jobs here.
Folks here today are really excited about the future of Mississippi. That's why they spend the time and money to come here. And they go home energized to do good things, and that's what's going to make Mississippi strong. It's not what comes here from the capital city, it's what happens in their communities.
If people have questions, like more information, what should they do?
They just go to our website, www.mec.ms, and you can connect into a whole panoply of information.